Hello there, a good evening to you indeed, and many thanks for joining us on Rwanda Television News tonight. I hope that you had yourselves a great Saturday, and now welcome to our edition. These are the headlines. President Paul Kagame has noted that learning from the history Rwanda and the Czech Republic experienced is a strong foundation upon which the relations of the two countries can be built upon. The president of Mauritius has announced that his country will continue to work with Rwanda on boosting infrastructure through investment. And to international matters, abortion becomes key issue in U.S. presidential race. A very good evening to you indeed once again, and many thanks for joining us on Rwanda Television News tonight. As we start our tonight's edition, President Paul Kagame has noted that learning from the history that Rwanda and the Czech Republic experienced is a strong foundation upon which the relation of the two countries can be built upon. The Rwandan head of state made the observation in the meeting with the president of Czech, His Excellency Petr Pavel.
It has now been 30 years since the Czech Republic openly denounced the genocide against the Tutsi that was being committed in Rwanda at that time, calling on the UN to do something about it. And now that country's current president is in Rwanda to join Rwandans in commemorating that terrible tragedy.
The Czech Republic played a prominent role in calling for action to stop the genocide. We will always be grateful to Ambassador Karel Kovenda and to the Czech Republic. This spirit of solidarity and of speaking up against injustice creates lasting bonds of friendship and respect. The President and I had a very productive discussion. We value our close collaboration in defense and security and many other areas.
On his part, His Excellency Petr Pavel commended Rwanda's rate of development and expressed his country's will to continue partnering with Rwandans on their developmental journey.
I've found in President Kagame a partner with goodwill. And as we say, wherever there's a goodwill, there will be soon also concrete results. And we are ready to build on this goodwill and to open other chapters for expert discussion so that we can identify new areas for cooperation. I take the partnership and cooperation with Rwanda as mutually beneficial because both sides have a lot to offer. I would like to express my great respect to the progress that your country under your leadership has done over the last 30 years, building not only on ending hostilities, reconciliation, but also building on new technologies, building on support to innovation, building on support to new approaches to administration. I think in a number of areas, your country could serve as an inspiration even to countries in Europe, to us certainly.
The president of the Czech Republic also visited Norsken House here in Kigali and the facilities of TRL Space, an aerospace company from the Czech Republic that will next year send a craft to the moon, making Rwanda the 11th nation in the world to do so. On Saturday afternoon, he also visited Talking Through Art, based in Kicukiro district, and helping more than 80 women that include people with disabilities and former street hawkers.
President Paul Kagame emphasizes that the UK-Rwanda migration and economic partnership deal should be considered as a solution to the problem of asylum seekers, which tragically leads to loss of lives. Adam Squizera.
I also have a question for both of you, Your Excellencies. I would like to ask...
During the press conference, President Paul Kagame reiterated on this issue, explaining that the signing of this partnership is linked to the Rwanda's commitment to safeguarding the lives of Africans who resort the perilous illegal migration routes across the oceans and seas. He clarified that the partnership treaties between Rwanda and the UK, emphasizing that it is not only hosting migrants from the UK, but also encompasses articles pertaining to cooperation in economic development.
In fact, some of them are even confused when they have heard that there is a, we called it migration partnership also associated with the development. The one thing we did, we said, okay, for us, we are a small country, we have no resources. We are happy to play part, but we don't have money to feed these people, to do this, to invest in. So the money that is being talked about in this is money to help Rwanda settle these people. In fact, the UK would look after these people, but in a wider context, develop the environment, meaning they contribute, as they have done even before, to the development of Rwanda to be able to carry this burden.
President of Czech Republic, Petr Pavel, announced his country's plan to donate over €1 million to support Rwanda in its initiative to address the refugee problem through the partnership with the United Nations High Commission for Refugees and the European Union.
So dealing with all visa procedures in the countries from which the refugees come, or a country that is willing to host such a procedure like Rwanda, is definitely more effective and more human to those refugees. I'm glad that Rwanda is in good contact with the EU, because on the side of the EU, we should be dealing with this issue collectively, not country by country. But we're welcoming it, and I would also like to mention that Czech Republic has decided to support this initiative by donation of €1 million to UNHCR to alleviate the burden on Rwandan visa authorities, and the decision will be taken within a couple of weeks.
President Paul Kagame also highlighted that this partnership serves as a means to mitigate the risk of thousands of Africans perishing in the Mediterranean Sea. Adam Squizera, RTV News.
Thank you, Adams. Moving ahead, Ethiopia's Prime Minister, who is on a 2-day working visit here in Rwanda, has been received by President Paul Kagame. His Excellency Abiy Ahmed Ali has also visited the Rwanda Institute for Conservation Agriculture in Bugesera district of the Eastern Province of Rwanda.
The Prime Minister is in Rwanda to join Rwandans in the 30th commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi, and has a long-standing history with the country because he was stationed here in 1994 as one of the UN peacekeepers and has since visited Rwanda on several occasions. During his visit to the Rwanda Institute for Conservation Agriculture, His Excellency Abiy Ahmed Ali was given explanations about the way the institute functions.
uyu munsi twamweretse ibikorwa twigisha abanyeshuri cyane cyane ibikorwa ngiro.
We showed him how we teach the students, especially pertaining to practical aspects of their education, such as how animal feed is made. The students explained to him the process and the 3 ways we rear our chickens, that include the automated method and the more traditional manner, all viable options for farmers depending on their means. We also showed him our Frisian cows, all taken care of by our students. We showed him how our students are taught both the science behind agriculture and animal husbandry and its practical aspects, and he was impressed. Half of the time our students spend here is dedicated to practical work, and that is not a claim many institutions and universities can make. We also teach the business aspect of this and encourage our students to become job creators and train them as such.
turabizi yuko gushaka akazi biragoye, abanyeshuri barangiza kaminuza ni benshi, icy'ingenzi rero ko tumutoza hakiri kare kwihangira imirimo.
During the next academic year, RICA intends to start receiving students from the region and beyond, having held its first graduation ceremony of 76 students last year.
And moving ahead, the president of Mauritius has announced that his country will continue to work with Rwanda on boosting infrastructure through investment. On Saturday, he visited the Rukarara hydropower plant that was constructed by investors from Mauritius. We have the story.
At the hydropower plant, the leader who is in the country to join Rwandans in the commemoration event commended the achievement and promised the cooperation of Mauritius in future projects.
The backbone of any economic development is infrastructure. Invested in infrastructure has a multiplier effect on the economy. And this is where we should focus.
Top officials in Rwanda's Ministry of Infrastructure have welcomed the initiative, saying they are willing to work with investors from abroad for continued development. And even though the 350 megawatts the country now produces are currently sufficient, that need is bound to grow as development continues.
And moving ahead, on Saturday, the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs in the government of France, Stéphane Sojourn, engaged in discussions with his Rwandan counterpart, Dr. Vincent Biruta. The primary agenda was to bolster cooperation across diverse sectors. Following the deliberations, the two nations formalized their commitment through signing an agreement focusing on various domains. Minister Sojourn emphasized France's enduring dedication to expanding collaboration with Rwanda. Notably, he underscored their joint efforts in pursuing justice for the survivors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. He reiterates on the signed agreements as well.
Nous avons su bâtir un partenariat solide.
We have been able to build a solid, mutually beneficial partnership that is resolutely focused on the future. What I want to emphasize about today's meeting is that France has become a major partner of Rwanda with more than 500 million euros committed in the last 5 years. Tonight we are signing a declaration of intent which enters into this new partnership. From 2024 to 2028, we are going to invest more than 400 million euros in 3 strategic sectors for Rwanda. I am thinking of health, second in question of education of our young people, and of the environment. These are the projects that will also have a very concrete impact on the living conditions of the Rwandan population. I am very happy to sign this declaration of intent with you, Mr. Minister, because I believe it is ambitious and I believe that it projects, as I said, into the future. I am also very pleased tonight with an agreement in the field of air services. It will also make it possible to streamline air transport between two countries and to strengthen exchanges between our two populations.
Deux pays et de renforcer les échanges et les contacts entre nos deux peuples.
Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. Vincent Biruta, noted that the agreement that was signed is a significant milestone that will further fortify the bilateral ties between Rwanda and France.
Aujourd'hui, Monsieur le Ministre Séjourné et moi-même venons de signer 2 accords.
Today, Mr. Minister Sejourné, I myself have just signed 2 agreements which guarantee the bilateral partnership of development for the period between 2024 and 2028, and this agreement devotes a total of 400,000 euros for programs in key sectors for the development of Rwanda. We also signed the air services agreement. As you know, the airline Rwandair has been flying to Paris 3 times a week for well over a year. This aerial bridge between Paris and Kigali reinforces the cultural and economics of these 2 French-speaking capitals. I would like to reiterate Rwanda's commitment to deepen this partnership even further in the future.
la volonté du Rwanda à approfondir son partenariat davantage dans le futur.
Sojourner's president in Rwanda extends beyond diplomatic engagements. He will also partake in the 30th commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi that begins tomorrow. In his capacity, he represents French President Emmanuel Macron. And moving ahead, on Saturday, the Speaker of the Rwandan Parliament, Honorable Donatil Mukabalisa, received and held talks with the President of Mozambican Parliament. The two officials reflected on the implementation of the Protocol of Cooperation and ways of sharing experiences and best practices with the aim of enhancing parliamentary cooperation for the benefits of the citizens of both countries.
We are very, very happy to receive the delegation of Mozambique. We showed them that we are very, very happy to receive them, as it is a visit that is coming to continue strengthening the good relationship between our two countries in general and our two parliaments in particular. And we thank them particularly for the approval of the treaty of exchanges of criminals. It goes in the wish to build a rule of law system that is taking into account that all criminals, wherever they are, they have to be judged. So we have demonstrated them our pleasure that this treaty have been approved by the Parliament of Mozambique.
And the President of Mozambican Parliament reiterated that bilateral cooperation should go hand in hand with investment expansion and cooperation between both countries.
Parlamentares encorajamos este tipo de investimento porque bodies, we encourage the cooperation in that regard because thanks to the good cooperation relation at a political level and a legislative scenario sphere. We believe that it is very important that the business people, the cooperation at parliamentary level as well as at the private sector level, it's very important. That's why we encourage that business people from Mozambique come to invest in Rwanda, as well as Rwandan business people are most welcome to invest in Mozambique. So we as a parliamentary body, we encourage this kind of move between the two nations.
Honorable Esperança Francisco Bias is in Rwanda to represent the President of Mozambique, His Excellency Philip Nyusi, for the 30th commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. And to education matters, the Ministry of Education has started training young girls on the use of robot technology. The aim is to make girls more interested in science and technology courses, as the rate of girls taking these particular courses is still low here in Rwanda. Prince Manzi with the report.
The girls were trained as students in Year 2 and Year 3 of high school. They're selected in each district based on their scores in the primary school exams, but also continue to excel in high school. These young girls find it beneficial to be trained at this early age.
We developed many websites, like you learned how you can publish your items or the products you make by using websites and so on. Yeah, this is very interesting and it's really, there is interest in starting it when you're young, because this is when you realize what you want to become in the future and you know your goal. As long as you know your goal and you know what you're interested in, it doesn't take you a long time to realize what you're really looking for.
The 2021-2022 statistics of the Ministry of Education demonstrates that 47.7% of girls are in advanced level of high school, while 41.7% undertake short vocational courses. Girls in universities account for 36.4%, while those in TVETs and higher learning institutions account for 25.6%. Pascal Gatabazi of the Ministry of Education elaborates that training students at an early age is the only solution to this gap. Training one at another age, it is risky, but this is the government program for exposing young girls to new technologies because their number is at a lower rate. So far, we see that these girls are capable and they are wise. If they excel, they also assist their fellow. Janet Kem, the UN Women representative in Rwanda, stressed on the need of collaboration of all levels in regard for closing the gap between boys and girls in schools.
So for sure it's going to continue. African Girls Can Code is an African program. It is being rolled out in 12 countries, Rwanda being one of the pilot countries. And for us, as I said a while ago, we are going to continue for sure, and continuing now in bigger partnership. What will keep it going and keep it running is partnerships for all of us, from the UN side to the side of the development partners, to the side of the government, to the institutions from where we bring the girls, like schools and NGOs that are working on these issues. And we think that as the Ministry of Education or Gender or ICT, or the three leading us, this is a sustainable project in the country.
The Paris Agreement of July 1st, 2021, that was also signed by Rwanda, stipulates that countries around the world will reduce the gap in the education of girls by at least 2026.
Thank you, Prince, for the report. People whose loved ones were killed at what is now Murambi Genocide Memorial in Nyamagabe district have welcomed the fact that it is now part of UNESCO's World Heritage List, saying that what happened there will now be preserved and serve as a lesson to the world not to allow atrocities to be committed. The plaque confirming the memorial's status was unveiled by UNESCO's Director General, who also noted on the significance of this milestone.
UNESCO has inscribed 4 memorial sites of the genocide in the World Heritage List. It's very important because it marks the acknowledgement that what has happened, the genocide, the sites have to be preserved, because what happened here matters for all humanity. It's a stain on a universal conscience, and we have to preserve the sites, so first as to fight against distortion or denial of history. It was something very important in my discussion with the survivors today, and inscribing the sites on World Heritage Lists will support this objective of preservation. And second, we need to foster an education not only about the genocide, about the history of the genocide, but also an education that promotes values that would make this impossible to happen again, which is the contrary of what has happened before, because, as you know, education at the time was instrumentalized towards genocide. We have to think our education always in connection with values of human dignity, of human rights, of respect.
Murambi is one of 4 genocide memorials in Rwanda that is now part of UNESCO's World Heritage List. The other 3 being Bisesero in Karongi, Nyamata in Bugesera, and the Gisozi in Kigali City. And before we end it off, let us transition to China, where our colleague Paul Rutikanga caught up with Rwanda's ambassador to China, James Kimonyo, on the preparations for Kwibuka 30, which starts on April 7th. Take a look.
The embassy is prepared for Kwibuka 30. The Kwibuka preparations include activities and talk shows and education talks prior to the main event, which is tomorrow, 7th of April, and the post-Kwibuka event, main event, which is after 7th. We have a number of events across China. So before the event tomorrow, we have had a number of talk shows or meetings with the Rwandans to have a conversation and reflect on the past. Look at the history and where Rwanda went wrong, or the Rwandan people went wrong in terms of committing genocide, and ask ourselves, where was the world? So these conversations, this kind of a dialogue took place across China, among Rwandans, but also with different international organizations like United Nations, African Union, think tanks, and so on. So the whole idea was to have a conversation prior to the money event tomorrow, and then we have almost 50 countries represented by ambassadors tomorrow, and many other people, Rwandans and friends of Rwanda, have confirmed to attend tomorrow. We plan then to have other events going forward in different parts of China, organized by Rwandans and friends of Rwanda. So we are really prepared for this.
Stopping the genocide against the Tutsi was undoubtedly the most challenging task undertaken by RPF back then. Subsequently, the aftermath of genocide, together with the restoration of the country's image with the name, which had been tarnished, was not such a simple task either. How is the Rwanda name perceived here in China today?
Yes, everyone we meet here in China, whether it's ordinary citizens, business leaders, members of the academia, policymakers, they will tell you that they didn't know Rwanda as such, because many Chinese pay attention to business, and now Rwanda, because of what the country has done in the past 30 years, has really attracted the attention of many Chinese. So when you travel across China, people will tell you that they know Rwanda because of business. But more importantly, they talk about the fact that this country has been able to transcend the differences and bring together people to be united and embark on socio-economic transformation journey, which has made Rwanda as a country to be a highly competitive state. And they say this is a miracle on the African continent, and they consider Rwanda as a good example on the continent.
Amid Rwanda's tenacious efforts to restore and rebuild the country, genocide denial, negation, and divisionism propagated by genocide propagandists continue to loom around the world. What is the situation here in China?
I should say that there's good news from this side, or this part of the world. We don't have such serious problems of people who deny genocide or who spread toxic narratives or genocide ideology and all sorts of discrimination. You don't find such individuals in China, whether it is within our communities. We have a very united community of Rwandans who live here, most of them very young. But we are very conscious of the fact that the people who spread those narratives, who deny genocide, who spread hate speech, they use tools that our people have access to, the social media especially. So because of that, we make sure that we are all aware and conscious of what is happening across the world. What are these people saying? How are we prepared to make sure that these kinds of narratives do not really make us fight back or even cause similar atrocities or tragedy in other countries across the world. So we are very conscious, but I want to say that we don't have such a serious problem of people who spread negative narratives, so to say.
And that's all from us here at RBA's Rwanda Television News. On behalf of the entire news production as well as the technical team that made it happen, many thanks for being with us on today's edition. Up until next time, stay safe and have a great evening.